Welcome to Income for Life Planning, a weekly radio program dedicated to providing your retirement with an income for life. Learn how to never run out of money, how to prepare for and be protected from long-term care, and how to create a retirement beyond your expectations. With your host, Stef the financial practitioner who makes house calls. Stef's practice is grounded in your financial protection against market loss while providing you with a lifetime guaranteed, predictable, and sustainable income, no matter how long you live. Stef has been helping people and businesses with their financial security needs for over 40 years and has been selected as one of the top senior advisors of the year. And he's also a member of the National Ethics Bureau. Founder of IncomeForLifePlanning.com and your host of Income for Life Planning Radio, here's Stef
And I guess another week has gone by, and here is your host, Stef, along with his faithful sidekick, Lou.
And,
Good morning, Lou.
And what a week it's been, huh?
What a week it's been. I made reference last week to the 60s TV program, TW3. You might remember that?
Yes.
Hosted by David Frost. I'm bringing a lot of listeners back a few decades here with that one, but it was known as TW3. That was the week that was, and I guess it's appropriate decades later because we are living through, unfortunately, we're going to have quite a few more weeks, apparently, of a lot of volatility and uncertainty. But I'll tell you, Lou, my clients are not living with uncertainty. They know that what we have done together has kept their assets safe. I have been receiving calls and emails. I can't say by the dozens, but I've received calls and emails. And I want to share one at least. I've got several that I could bring forward to you. This is one just received a couple of days ago from Mr. and Mrs. I could put the name Harry at the end of it. It doesn't matter. This was an email. Hi, Stef. I just wanted to say thank you for all the time you took with us on setting up our annuities. Times like these are stressful, and knowing our retirement dollars are safe is a blessing. I hope you and Gail are well and safe. Take care. Lou, how meaningful is that note?
Yeah, I was thinking it's time to collect some testimonials because these are the times for which these programs are designed.
Absolutely. And not only are they designed for the worst or the worst of economic times, they're designed for the good times. Because when our fixed indexed annuity programs are enforced, we go up when the market goes up. The only difference is, I say the only, and I say that somewhat facetiously, the only or one of the major differences is when the market goes down, we hold steady.
Right.
This is, and I've said it before, Lou, and I'm saying it again, and we'll continue to say it later in the program as well, with so much commitment. There is no other program that exists like the fixed indexed annuity, and particularly with our very proprietary Schiller index, because those people might, they'll hear it again if they've been listening, and our newer listeners will listen to and hear what type of returns we've been able to get that mirror the Dow Jones without the risk and without the volatility. It is amazing.
But let me ask you about this. Over the last few years, because we tend to slide over the no risk part of it because people haven't paid attention to it recently. How many times over the last few years have you talked to people about the no risk part of these annuities, that you are protected, that you are never going to lose a cent, and they kind of fluff it off because, the market's been going up for so long, the market's strong, and we keep saying, we've said it on this show for a long time now, that we're overdue for a correction, and people just sort of pass it off. It's like, no, things are going so great. They're just not worried about it because it's recency bias. It's not something they've experienced recently, so they don't think it's going to happen. Well, here it is. It's happened. Were you prepared?
Well, here it is again. And before addressing what you just brought forward, I want to I want to get to another, I guess you call it a testimonial. And this is, I'm stressing here, this is from a gentleman. But wait, and it's very brief. These have not been long emails or calls from people,
right.
My clients. And, no one, I've got to preface it by saying no one appreciates, that's such an understatement, what has occurred, the impact on the world, and particularly the impact to individuals, families, couples, individuals, particularly as not only during their working years, but as they approach or are in retirement, which is even more of concern because time is not on your side when you are older and approaching or in retirement. And these steps are needed to protect the assets. But I just want to preface this last, and I won't go into any more. I've received others this past week, and I've got to tell you, Lou, it is so gratifying what I'm hearing. And from this individual, he is a business person who was about to be retiring. This goes back. We set up his program a couple of years ago. I won't go into the numbers. And he started just very recently setting up, in addition to what other sources he has, his lifetime guaranteed income stream. And he's back in Massachusetts, and this is his note. Crazy here. I'm sure your son will tell you. Well, my son is a first responder in Massachusetts, so
yes.
I guess that's to what he was making reference. I say, hunker down in this. This is the continuation. I say, hunker down. Oh, let me say that. Let me see. His first email a couple of days ago was locked in just in time, Stef. What a crazy world. Locking in means he secured the asset,
right,
and he started the income. And my answer to him was, yes, it's a crazy world. And once the market starts recovering, your account will also start to grow in addition to your income for life.
Right. Stay
well and safe. And the last email from him that came in just a couple of days ago, actually it was yesterday, excuse me. And as I said, he's back in Massachusetts. Crazy here. I'm sure your son will tell you. I say, hunker down in the Sunshine State. Stay well, Stef. And this is his last statement to me. Love you. Best buddy. And then his name. Yep. How's that?
Excellent.
2 years ago, I didn't know him. He called me from one of the, I think it was actually WRKO, one of the stations that carries our program. We got to know each other. We visited. I secured the assets. Lou, I can't tell you, just as I said earlier, and I'm going to repeat it, how much satisfaction and gratification knowing that, and that we are placing people in positions to preserve what they've accumulated and protect them from this. We talked about them, the downside risks, and you said earlier we've talked about there's going to be a correction. Little did we know from which direction it would come, from the east, if you will.
Right.
Little did we know that it's something that we couldn't see and feel. Little did we know what impact and how quickly it would impact this, if you will, black swan event. And by the way, I shared a couple of weeks ago the article that I crafted called "The Black Swan Has Landed." And I should amend the title and say not only has the black swan landed, but the ripples that it has caused are so widespread and disastrous. And by the way, for those of you that are wondering, what about this black swan article? It's being downloaded it's being put on my website, incomeforlifeplanning.com, along with some other articles. So if people want to read something that's insightful, they'll be able to access through my website, incomeforlifeplanning.com. And by the way, for those of you who have not heard of or never heard of the expression, what is a black swan? What we are experiencing now is a black swan event. A black swan event is something that occurs often unexpectedly, and the impact can be, financially speaking, quite disastrous and calamitous. And Lou, I think, unfortunately, that description fits exactly what we are experiencing at this particular time, and will continue to do so despite best efforts, unfortunately.
One of the sayings I've always loved about this is that bear markets don't die, they're assassinated. And in this case, this one is massacred.
Oh, massacred to the point that as of this broadcast, we're down, over 30%. And it is just dramatic. Again, the steps we have taken with our programs have just secured people's assets. And you know what's in my mind, Lou? I've got to tell you this. Almost everyone with whom I encounter says, Stef, I'd be foolish not to do this. Why wouldn't we secure the assets? Let's go forward. But I must admit, there are several people over the past year with whom I've met, and they did not have insignificant assets. And they felt, I guess, comfortable with the market as it was. You made reference to it earlier, I think, Lou. They just didn't look forward, if you will, despite what I showed them. And when we come back from our drop, I want to share when someone says, well, you know what, this isn't, now I've lost all this money, I have to wait until it recovers. No, you do not, and I'll explain that. But Lou, would you also provide a means with which people can reach out to me if they want, please?
Stef Lassu's practice is grounded in your financial protection against market loss, while providing you with a lifetime guaranteed, predictable, and sustainable income. Get started today with your Income for Life planning. Call Stef toll-free, 877-720-9500, or visit incomeforlifeplanning.com. That's 877-720-9500, or visit incomeforlifeplanning.com.
Thank you, Lou. And you know, folks, if you don't call, there's a likelihood you'll be losing even more. I'll get to that in a moment. And I don't say that lightly or say it smugly. I'm just speaking with confidence. I'm speaking with sincerity, and knowing what we've been able to do and accomplish and continue to be able to do. And you know, the only thing that's unfortunate, Lou, in some of our older contracts, including my own, that we have in effect, that we had indexes that were not as evolved as the current, if you will, the Schiller index is, that is proprietary to us, and with what we've been using of late, and I'll explain the results. But even our older contracts, even those that protected our principal and may not have earned us as much, they're still holding steady, and they've not given back anything, a penny, resulting from this market free fall. So even the older contracts, even though they haven't grown as much, they've still performed and done what they're supposed to do.
I think you should mention, too, because you touched on it earlier, and we talked about 2008, for example, or some of these corrections, where there'll be a correction, and then eventually history tells us the market will start to recover, and it will come up, and people will start to see gains in their accounts. But those gains for a long period of time, and in 2008, it was 5, 6, perhaps 7 years, those gains that they saw were just recovery of losses. That was all committed to recovery of losses. And the way this investing works, you need to recover more than you lost to get back to an even level. But with clients of your programs, people who are in your programs, as soon as this market starts to recover and make gains, those will not be recovery of losses because there are no losses. They'll just be gains.
That's exactly right. Let me reinforce what you just said. With our program, our strategy, When the market drops, we hold steady. So when the market starts to recover, and it's a great segue to what I wanted to state, not just my next statement, but the ones to follow. It's when the market starts to recover and everyone else is, as you said, Lou, recovering losses, just trying to get back, we didn't lose. So we are, at the same time as people are recovering their losses, we're getting gains because we're getting credited with the market uptick from our previously held high point. And if people don't get it, Lou, I don't know how much clearer that can be stated. Since we don't lose, we're not recovering losses. We're just adding more gains to our already held account. Is that pretty clear?
I think so, yeah.
I hope so. And let me put it in perspective, if you will. But even before doing that, let me get to something to which I alluded a few moments ago. I've been, I've had calls from people, and I've been speaking, and they say, Stef, I want to now get involved. I want to get to the fixed index strategy. I want to protect my assets, at least some of them, but I have to wait for the market to recover. That's a fallacy. There is no time like the present, because how much more is the market going to drop? We don't know. No one does. However, what we do know is that if at present you take some of those assets and we transfer them and place them into our fixed indexed programs, if you will not lose any further. And when, as we said a few moments ago, when the market starts to recover, your new account is going to as well. So, Lou, that's a fallacy to say, well, I have to wait and recover before I can do anything.
Right.
No, you do not. Absolutely. We can now take and establish the floor, if you will, to your assets. And when the market, and should the market drop even further, you will be insulated. And when the market starts to recover, you will as well. As a matter of fact, if you're saying, well, I understand that, but Stef, how can what you do, what you offer, come close to what the Dow Jones, what the market has done? Well, Lou, you may recall, I think it was last week or the week before, on behalf of a client, I made a comparison. And of course, I've discussed that when we earn our gains in our program, we lock them in every 2 years without going into more detail. Mm-hmm. Our principal is always protected, but we lock in our gains every 2 years. So a client said, well, how did my account do within that 2-year period relative or compared to the market itself? Well, I'm going to make an editorial comment that I think we did pretty damn well. Let me explain. And I looked at I usually use, as an example, 2 of my client account statements to show how this works. And in one of the accounts, during the 2-year market run-up, up until last year, during that 2-year period, our fixed indexed annuity program not only protected principal, but during that 2-year period, Lou, locked in a little over 34% net gain in that 2-year period. Not too bad.
No, not bad at all. That's pretty substantial.
The Dow Jones, during that same exact 2-year period, did a 40% return. That's like 3% a year less that we earned, but we locked in our gains.
That's right.
The Dow Jones did not, if you will. So we did okay. I think better than okay, during that same 2-year period, but our 34% gains were without risk, without volatility, without any risk to principal, and we locked in those gains. The second account I checked, listen to this, folks, and this This was a larger account, but the amount of the account does not matter. It all works proportionately. During that 2-year period, our fixed indexed strategy earned and locked in 39% net during the 2-year period. Lou, the Dow Jones during that same 2-year period did 40%. Only a 1% difference.
Yeah, but the important point here, what if this 2-year period that we're talking about included the last 2 weeks?
Well, if it did, we would have held steady, to put it very simply.
Right.
Our account would...
And the comparative gains, the comparative total gains would have been very much in our favor.
Oh, without a doubt. And by the way, again, not to dwell too much more on it, but when people say, well, Stef, in your strategy, you get most of the market gains, or you get some of them, not all of them, I can prove that we pretty much almost get most of the gains that there are to get, almost equal to what the Dow Jones Industrial Average, what the market has done. Lou, as I said earlier, there is no other program, there is no other platform that exists that's able to protect people's principal, get gains linked to the market, lock in those gains, and then, we haven't talked about this on the program so far today, Lou, then create the lifetime guaranteed income that people need and want. That's what also we can do.
Yes.
We can create guaranteed lifetime income. As a matter of fact, the client, I'll call it, you called it a testimonial, I'll call it my client email of satisfaction, was principally because, and you heard my answer to him, that not only are you taking the income now for the rest of your life, but your account still has the opportunity to grow going forward. And by the way, Lou, I'm getting a little feedback since we're on a remote here, but is my
no, you're coming through fine on this end, yeah.
Excellent. That was my concern. Excellent. So, folks, there's no time like the present, to use a very trite expression. Those of you who waited, those of you who've been listening, in fact, I had one call this week, and you know what the beginning of the call was? I've been listening to you for years, but I think we need to get together.
Yeah.
How's that?
You'll hear more of that in the coming weeks.
Absolutely. And by the way, when you do call, ladies and gentlemen, the 877-720-9500, wait for the prompt. I can't answer live, so please do not hesitate leaving a message. And most people are comfortable enough with leaving a message. And if for some reason there's a technical difficulty, the voice is not coming in clearly, here's my cell number, 978-902-1072. You can bypass the business line. If you want to reach me directly, it's 978-902-1072. And you can reach me directly. If a message needs to be left, I will address it promptly. Lou, I don't know how much more open, transparent, and straightforward we can be. You know what our concern is? Protecting people's assets, creating peace of mind with our SWAN portfolio, SWAN, for sleeping well at night, and our book, the SWAN portfolio, which people can download from my website. And as we discussed, that's a great primer. It's an excellent introduction and background, if you will, and can be a good source of information for people.
Yes.
But I haven't had as much download of the book lately, but that's okay. We've been emphasizing the need for people to take action, protect the assets, and make sure that going forward for the next 10 or 20 or 25 years, during which time people will be living, that they will not be subject to another market downturn, or will be subject to it, but they won't be impacted adversely, to put it very simply.
Right, but let me ask you the key question here right now. All the people in all of your programs, all of your customers, how much money have they lost in the last 2 weeks?
They have lost zero.
Yeah.
In fact, I mentioned last week, I didn't have calls this week, but I had one or two, and a couple of clients saying, Stef, how are we doing? They weren't in anguish or they weren't upset at all. They said, how are we doing? And I directed them to their account value, because you can see it every day by you'll have a special login when you get an account set up. And I couldn't see them because I was on the phone with them, but I could feel that they were smiling, to put it very simply.
Well, that would be very good news in today's environment. That would be very good news. You haven't lost a penny.
And speaking of environment, we haven't spoken of the VUCA environment, have we? Which sounds very ugly.
Yep. Little less than 2 minutes here.
Oh, before the half,
yep.
If you will. Okay. And we do have all of our stations now carrying us for the full hour, so I'm very pleased with that, quite frankly. So, folks, there is no time like the present. If you're concerned, give a call. We'll chat. We'll determine where you are, where you'd like to be. And by the way, speaking of where you'd like to be, and given what's occurred in the market, when we do come back, Lou, from our break, our mid-program break, I'm going to let everyone know that if they're concerned for income going forward and they've lost so much already, how would they like to have an immediate 25% enhancement to their account for income? And if they have at least another, doesn't have to be, but if they have a few years that they don't need the income, but they'll let it grow, we'll guarantee to put 10% per year in addition to the 25% into their account, from which they can take income they can never outlive. This is unheard of. Where else is this available? I don't think anywhere. And when we come back, I'll elaborate and show you how in your first year we'll recover 35% that'll make up, for income purposes, the losses that you've just recently encountered in the market. Lou, is that a reason to hang on for the second half?
It certainly is.
We'll be right back.
Stef Lassou has been helping people and businesses with their financial security needs for over 40 years and has been selected as one of the top senior advisors of the year. Now's a great time to sit with Stef and create your personal income for life planning. Call Stef Lassou toll-free, 877-720-9500, or visit incomeforlifeplanning.com. That's 877-720-9500, or visit incomeforlifeplanning.com.
Concerned about outliving your income? Concerned about the risk and volatility of the markets? Not sure what to do in order to protect yourself? Call 877-720-9500. That's 877-720-9500. Speak with Stef about solutions, about planning your financial future. Call 877-720-9500. Call today. Let us help you plan your financial future.
Warning, just a moment of your time with Stef Lassou on the radio can lead to a happy and sustainable retirement. This is Income for Life Planning with your host, Stef Lassou.
Well, I guess we're back, and this second half is certainly going to fly by, Lou, isn't it?
Yes, it is. So there are many people sitting there today, and they're facing a very hard choice. They're facing, well, do I exit the market and institutionalize my losses here, or do I ride it out and see how low it can go?
Well, that's quite a choice, isn't it?
Isn't it? Yeah.
It's quite a choice. And with our clients, our programs, there is no choice or what's the worst option because everything is secure. As a matter of fact, if people need any further reinforcement, and if we have time, we'll talk about the Secure Act that many people don't know anything about it, that was just passed by Congress and the Senate and signed into law by the President. What the Secure Act did, what we've been talking about on this program for years, Lou, what we've talked about for this first half hour is exactly the program that is now going to be available to save the assets of millions of 401k employees, because the President signed into law the availability of our fixed indexed annuity program to be part of the 401k savings, retirement savings plans, to protect employee assets. So when the market falls, their account will not. And when they earn gains, they won't give them back. And when they're ready to retire, they're going to be able to have an income they can never outlive. Lou, how much more reinforcement is needed than that?
No, this is exactly what we're looking for in these times.
Absolutely. We want safety, we want security, we want peace of mind, we want certainty. And all of that is the opposite of what most people are experiencing. I just, when the market started dropping, and I've said it openly, and I share individually when I do meet with people, my own involvement in these programs for Gales and my personal financial security is exceptionally heavy. Heavy in the sense of I put a great deal of personal financial reliance on these programs. And I won't go beyond that on air at this point. But when the market started dropping, I was, the jaw dropped, if you will.
Sure.
But not for my own lack of financial security, but that it was happening. And why couldn't everyone be protected the way we are, quite frankly? And again, at the beginning of the program, I shared with you just a couple of quite a few emails and telephone calls that I've had from clients who have been so relieved, who have so much peace of mind that they're weathering the overall impact of this event, but it's not impacting them financially. Isn't that significant, and isn't that with peace of mind?
Yeah, I'm sure that's going to perk up the attention of a lot of people today, because a lot of people have been impacted very heavily in the last week or so.
Oh, extremely. And now, I don't even like saying this, let's hope we recover on the other side. We don't know how long. The President has talked about a 15-day period, hopefully. We don't know. That's a bit of conjecture. It's a positive thought. Let's see what materializes. There is more hunkering down. Let's see if that's going to have an impact. We don't know. But there's also discussion of, without going into all the detail, all of the supply lines being disrupted across the world, etc., that there could be a recession ahead. That's not a pleasant thought, quite frankly. We just don't know. But that's the point of securing people's assets, so that with whatever occurs, we will not be impacted. And let me bring us back to the Depression of 1928, 1929, when, as I stated on our program a couple of weeks ago, the market dropped by as much as 90%. The only people that were not impacted were those people that had life insurance contracts and annuity contracts from the strongest insurance companies.
Right.
And that's what's needed. That's what we use to protect our assets. And there's nothing else that exists.
Well, I think one of the principles we should put forth here to show how strong these programs are and how protected these programs are is the requirement is that the money that is due you in these programs is held in cash reserve The money is not in the market. So when the market experiences problems and has a deep dive, it doesn't affect the money that is due you as part of this contract because that's held in cash reserves.
That's correct. And as it relates, without going into a lot of detail, and I'm not the detail mechanic here, but there's a term called reserve ratio. What that refers to is exactly to what you just made reference, Lou. The amount that's held in reserve by the company that is providing these benefits, providing these programs. And the company, I have a number of companies with which I'm affiliated, but there's one in particular that has, if not the highest, one of the highest reserve ratios in the country, in the world. And that speaks, again, to the safety and the security of what we are doing. As a matter of fact, to further reinforce, as if, Lou, more reinforcement is needed, let me make reference to a company, a private or a company that almost everyone knows, and that is, Lou, just escaped me. Oh, my. Bristol-Myers Squibb.
Okay, Bristol-Myers, yeah.
Yeah. Well, you didn't help me out in that one, did you?
No, I didn't. I wasn't sure enough because I didn't want to mention the wrong company either.
No, I know. That's okay. But Bristol-Myers, a little joke there. Bristol-Myers Squibb, just this past year, released to the company that I principally use for these programs, just released, as many companies, by the way, no longer want their pension liabilities. They don't want to be responsible for their retirees' pensions. They just released nearly $4 billion. That's with a B. $3.8 billion to be exact. And they gave it to the company that I represent openly and proudly, for this company to that basically took that money in and is now providing for the retirement benefits, if you will, for their thousands and thousands of employees. Lou, don't you think that Bristol-Myers Squibb did a lot of due diligence before it released nearly $4 billion?
Well, the people running this fund, that's what they do for a living. They're professionals.
They're professionals. So there's another reinforcement. So again, I say out there, those of you with whom I've not interacted, for what are you waiting? If you're waiting for the market to recover, don't wait and maybe have it go down even further. Again, most advisors who have the best interest of their clients in mind state that a portion of the assets, at least whatever portion of the assets is necessary, should be set up in the programs that we have been discussing to make sure that the income that you need will not be impacted, and you'll have at least a basic income along with Social Security that you know is going to be there during hard times and not so good times. Lou, are we still together?
Yes. So let me ask you this follow-up question, because I asked you earlier in the show, all the people, all of your clients and all of your programs, how much money have they lost in the last week or 10 days? And you said not a penny, which is true. Let me ask you about the people in all of your programs who have activated their income and are taking income from their retirement assets. How much have they lost in income since the beginning of this market crash?
Oh, their income continues. And one example was that gentleman who ended his short email, the last one, to me and says, "I love you." You know, I take that to heart. Think about that. He needed financial security, and now we're providing it. And despite everyone knows, he knows what's happened over the past several weeks. This unprecedented issue, never before thought. We didn't. Who the heck had even heard of a coronavirus? It existed because labs were working with it, but no one knew that it existed in such a virulent what's the other word I want? Manner, I guess I'll call it.
Yeah.
As it has developed, and as you just brought forward, once the income is activated, it's going to be there. And by the way, not only income for life, level income, we can even set up an inflation-adjusted lifetime income. So if you've got good health on your side, good genes, and you've got another 15, 20, 25 years in retirement, and we know that inflation has always been with us and will continue to be. It will vary at different times. We'll make sure that when inflation comes up, your income will go up as well, and up to 10% per year. Think about that. Lou, these programs, speaking of unprecedented, these programs, these strategies are unprecedented. They have evolved to such a degree as to where we are today that not only, again, are we protecting principal, but our gains that we're making almost mirror what the market is doing in that same time frame. That's incredible. It's not as if the market goes up 20% in a year and now we're getting maybe 5% or 6% or 8% or 10% gains. We're getting gains in our programs almost mirroring what the market is doing, and we're doing it without risk, without the volatility, and we're locking in those gains. On that note, please provide our last drop of the program so people will know how to reach out, please.
If you're impressed by what Stef is telling you, wait until you see what he can do for you in person. Get started today with your Income for Life planning. Call Stef Lassou toll-free, 877-720-9500, or visit incomeforlifeplanning.com. That's 877-720-9500, or visit incomeforlifeplanning.com.
Let me ask you another question, Stef. I've asked you, all the people, all your clients, all the people in your programs, how much money have they lost in the last 10 days? And you've told me not a penny. And I've asked you, people who have already activated their income and distribution from your programs among your clients, how much income have they lost in the last 10 days? And you're telling me none, not a penny. What do you think the phone calls are like for people in more traditional distribution programs when they're talking to their advisor and saying, well, okay, can I still expect to take out the same amount of money, get the same income out of my retirement assets at this point with the losses in the market? I'm going to guess most advisors are saying you better be a little cautious and you better look to be cutting your spending and looking to take less income out of your retirement assets. I've got to believe that's what the phone calls are like right now.
Well, I'm going to give you a direct answer. You're damn right. That's exactly what the tone and the text of those conversations are, because there's no broker that can predict. Don't worry, Sam. Don't worry, Rosie. We're coming out of this in 4 weeks. Continue to take your regular income stream. We'll be okay. You'll recover immediately as soon as things clear. There's no one that can predict that. You know what's being said? Here's what's being said by the advisors. You've got to stay the course. You know that. You knew that going in. Things will be okay. Oh, and by the way, you're taking income. Why don't you take a little bit less income right now? You're going to have to tighten your belt. Well, wait a minute. I can't take less income. What are you trying to tell me?
Right.
I still got to pay my insurance bill. I still got to pay my home mortgage. My rent is still due. I can't call all of these people to whom I owe this money and say, I just had to cut my income in half. Will you please reduce my indebtedness in half? There's no way in hell that's happening, Lou. We know that.
Right.
So the point is, you need, just the way I've always maintained, you need that guaranteed paycheck during your working years. You need that guaranteed paycheck in retirement. Absolutely, positively. And that's what we provide. Not if, not maybe. We provide that guaranteed paycheck in retirement. So when circumstances like this occur, And these black swan events, don't pre-announce themselves, if you will. When they occur, that's the time that they really go to work for you, not only to protect what you have, but as you've said, Lou, and I appreciate your bringing it up again on the program, you don't lose a penny of your income. You don't have to adjust your income downwards. It's going to continue to be there regardless of the economic, the geopolitical, or the environment in which we find ourselves. Isn't that what you want out there, ladies and gentlemen? You want to know that if you need income, it's going to be there. You want to know that whatever you've accumulated, it's going to stay intact. And again, the way we make money over time is using the equity market, the stock market. What we can eliminate from the market is the risk and the volatility and the losses. We eliminate those absolutely positively. And if I haven't proven that on this particular program and my previous programs, well, I don't know then what it's going to take, because we can eliminate the loss, we can eliminate the risk, and we can provide the certainty that people need, to put it very simply.
The program you talked about earlier in the program, and you can recap it if you want, where you get an immediate appreciation on money that goes towards income. This is vitally important for people who are nearing and especially early in retirement, because that money that you've accumulated for retirement has to last you 20, 25, perhaps 30 years in this day and age. And when you lose money at the beginning of your retirement, it's a devastating loss, because you not only lose principal, which obviously takes away your ability to take income, but you also lose the gains that principal would have made over the next 20, 25, 30 years. It's a massive loss, and if we learned anything from 2008, we know that it can take years for the market to recover to periods in the past. But this loss that you're suffering right now, you're losing the growth of that money for the next 20-plus years. That's why it's so important, and that's why this program is something you should be particularly interested in, and it would be due diligence to just vet this program and take a look at it.
Oh, absolutely, and thank you for reminding me. Lou, how long do we have before the end of the program?
5 minutes.
Okay, perfect. I did say before the half-hour break, and then we got to discussing some other things, but let me finish the program with, if you will, a blockbuster. I mentioned this a couple of times over the past 2 or 3 programs. What I'm going to say now is huge. It is significant. We can make up in the first year of participating in our program, if the concern is income going forward, and some growth as well, and protection of principal, with whether it's from an IRA or any other assets, we can add an immediate 25% more to your account value. So as an example, if you go in with $100,000, overnight it's going to be $125,000 from which to take income. And for every year that you don't take the income out, let's say you have some money and you know you're going to use it, not immediately, but at some point in the future from which to take income, for up to 10 years in deferral, your income account not only will have earned and been given 25% immediately, but from the first year on for up to 10 years, the account will also grow on a guaranteed basis by 10% per year simple interest. Mm-hmm. Lou, is that not significant?
Yes. So if you're facing the decision of institutionalizing your losses by getting out of the market now, or riding it out and wondering where it's going to go and what the time frame is while you're in retirement and your regular paycheck isn't coming in, if you think those are your only 2 choices, here's a third choice.
Absolutely. So what are we saying? That we have a special fixed index program that not only protects your principal, it gives you maybe not the Shiller type of index growth without going into detail, but you'll still get the potential of substantial growth by being linked to the market. But the most important, the way this is constructed, it's designed to make up for market losses if in fact you want to take an income stream, or you want to develop income you can never outlive from a particular asset. So since there has been such a loss from market assets, we can make that up and then some, and then create the income that you want. And if you're married, to both of you and to the surviving spouse. And by the way, Lou, isn't that the primary reason, or the principal, maybe not the only, but the principal reason why most people have accumulated assets into retirement?
Yes.
Isn't it for income?
Yes.
Realistically?
Time to give contact
now,
information.
Okay, I guess we've reached the end of our program.
Yes.
You want to find out more? You want to get more information regarding our first year 35% enhancement to your account from which to take income? You want to arrange to hear more? Reach out to me, 877-720-9500, and please, the website, there's a lot of great information there. You can download my Swan portfolio, speaking of Swan, my Black Swan article, and you can reach out to me through it as well. Lou, thank you. These are unprecedented times. Folks, you need to take the steps necessary to protect what you have. I'm here for you. We'll be with you next week. Lou, thanks as always for your participation, and I look forward to meeting with some of my listeners in the upcoming weeks.
Did you know you can create an income for life for you and your grandchildren? Learn about the Grandparent Check from Heaven. Call Stef Lassou today, 877-720-9500, or visit incomeforlifeplanning.com. That's 877-720-9500, or visit incomeforlifeplanning.com.